The first time a top American general has been relieved from duty in wartime since Harry Truman fired Douglas MacArthur during the Korean War, that has already happened. That's what President Obama already did to the guy who General Stanley McCrystal replaced in Afghanistan. That was General David McKiernan, who was fired by President Obama last May from his role heading up the Afghanistan war. General McKiernan was fired in part to make room for General McCrystal. His own job is now very much on the line. About 13 hours from right now, U.S. Army General Stanley McCrystal is expected to be sitting face-to-face with President Obama in the White House Situation Room. On the line, the general's military career and perhaps the future of this war effort that he has championed. This will not be the first time that these two have met face-to-face, specifically after General McCrystal has done something to get himself in hot water. In September, while President Obama was in the process of trying to decide on a way forward in Afghanistan, this was the front page of the Washington Post. McCrystal, more forces or mission failure. An internal report by General McCrystal intended for White House review only, instead magically leaked to the Post. It said if the president didn't dramatically increase the number of troops, mission failure. A month later, General McCrystal got himself into trouble again. After giving a speech in London, McCrystal was asked whether one specific strategy, one being advocated by Vice President Joe Biden, would likely work in Afghanistan.
The short, glib answer is no. A strategy that does not leave Afghanistan in a stable position is probably a short-sighted strategy.
The vice president advocating a short-sighted strategy, says the commanding general in the war, in public, on the record. That happened October 1st. On October 2nd, General McCrystal was summoned for a private meeting with the president aboard Air Force One. And it wasn't just General McCrystal who got in trouble. Jonathan Alter reports in his new book, quote, inside the National Security Council, advisors considered what happened next historic, a presidential dressing down unlike any in the United States in more than half a century. General McChrystal's bosses, Defense Secretary Bob Gates and Joint Chiefs Chairman Admiral Mike Mullen, were also called to the Oval Office to face the same wrath from the president. So what's just happened with Michael Hastings' Rolling Stone article will be the third strike for General McCrystal in terms of publicly undermining the White House about the war and getting dressed down for it. But it should be noted that so far strikes 1 and 2 didn't cost him very much in terms of his clout. After all, General McCrystal was pressuring President Obama to give him an extra 40,000 troops, you'll recall, in Afghanistan. Despite the criticism, the dressing down that he earned, the general got an increase of 30,000 troops. Now, President Obama may be politically and strategically constrained by the fact that he's already fired the top commander in Afghanistan, which was a historic decision. Doing it twice would create some pretty huge waves. But you know what? One person that President Obama did not fire was Robert Gates, held over as defense secretary from the last administration. Secretary Gates is known for being willing to make a lot of waves, but one of his favorite ways to make waves is by firing really high-ranking generals and officers.
Major General George Waitman, the commander at Walter Reed Medical Center, is the first high-ranking officer to be fired over deplorable conditions at the hospital's outpatient facilities.
Tonight, the Army's top civilian officer is out. Army Secretary Francis Harvey was fired today.
From the very day this scandal broke, Defense Secretary Robert Gates has been demanding accountability, and today he got it.
And there is yet more fallout tonight. Another firing in the scandal over conditions for some of the patients at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. The Army's top doctor is now out.
Admiral Fox Fallon resigned quietly today. Sources say that in the end, under pressure from the White House, Defense Secretary Gates refused to take Fallon's calls, making it clear he had to go. Well, Brian, this is remarkable. Secretary Gates did force the resignations of the Air Force Chief of Staff, General Mike Mosley, and Air Force Secretary Michael Wynne over 2 incidents involving the mishandling of nuclear material or related materials over the past year.
Look at the list of people Bob Gates has fired. Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Air Force, the head of Central Command, Air Force Chief of Staff, Army Surgeon General, a 3-star Navy Vice Admiral, a Marine Corps Major General, all fired by Bob Gates. Not to mention the top commander in Afghanistan, General McKiernan, who used to have Stanley McChrystal's job. What happens to General McChrystal tomorrow and what happens to the war effort is obviously a presidential decision. Removing the second wartime commander in the space of about a year would make some serious waves. But at this point, we know that when General McChrystal gets to his meetings with Secretary Gates and the president tomorrow, he's going to be dealing with people who are not afraid to make waves.